Yeah, and and I guess there's always the pressure that you have a song called "We're Family," and there's an
Yeah, we love
expectation.
that.
I've got
Yeah,
my
it's
sisters
just
with,
funny because I say, and I can't be we were family. We are family. We're
yeah,
family,
and
you know? Yeah,
yeah, yeah, and I mean, there's a lot of us who would say, because where I sort of got reacquainted with you is when you appeared with one of my favorite guests, and that was DJ Cassidy
yeah.
on Pastor Mike,
I
and
saw Cassidy this Christmas. Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, because yeah, he's one of my favorite guests because I just I was really
I
love
love this. Yeah, I
what he
love
did
him.
with it. But then you've seen you and Niall, and a lot of people says couldn't believe that you looked as if you were you
It's some
transported yourself.
formaldehyde soaks.
I'm sure you got a lot of comments telling that, wow, she looks good, she looks young. What's it?
You know something I have to say, this makeup artist told me, and I live by it. And she told me this. She's from Australia, so I have to do the accent. This is so profound. She says to me, God gives you the face you're born with, and life will give you the face you deserve. When she told me this, I'm like, whoa. She was doing my makeup, and I made her drop the brush, and I'm like, I gotta write that down. And it's God gives you the face you're born with, but life will give you the face you deserve. So what does that mean? Like, it means that sometimes, like, maybe you've gone to school with someone like back in the day, and they were like the cutest girl around, but she was a bitch.
Yeah.
And you see her now, and she's like, whoa. But it works reverse too. It works where maybe somebody back in the day in school, they were kind of homely and you didn't, but you see them now and you're radiant. And you're,
Yeah, yeah.
well, what I have learned through all of this is, and thank you for that compliment, but I think people ask me, like, what's your secret? What do you do? Like, why do you stay so young? Like, what are you doing? And for as crazy as it sounds, I smile a lot.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. That's just, yeah, they talk about how then it makes a massive difference with our mental health, just smiling. And it's hard for most people. We frown a lot. So yeah, it makes a lot.
This is my resting bitch face. I'm not, I mean, it's funny, but what I have learned is, we all have heavy stuff. We all do. But we also have a choice. And I'm not sitting here saying that I don't get depressed. Lord knows I've been through and more to come. But I think that our thoughts, I try to concentrate more on the good energy.
Yeah.
And early days with my sisters, like I was the clown, like I was the jokester. I was like, my sisters, I was that one. And I still always make jokes. I feel like that's, you can have a choice to have a heavy or lighter
Yeah.
life, and it makes things light. It's not that you're not serious about things, but I think if I was to say any kind of advice, is what's inside is what matters, and that is what comes out more and more through the years.
Yeah.
It's a reverse too, so you have to reverse.
Yeah, no, no, you definitely are right. I mean, the pure thoughts and the heart doesn't lie. And if we struggle sometimes to celebrate somebody else's success because we assume, well, why didn't it happen to me? And there's a sense of, if you can celebrate somebody else's success, it doesn't mean that what they have, they shouldn't have. I always remember, um, and I'll digress slightly with when in the book of John, and Jesus and Peter are walking, and John's behind. He said, "Hey, what about him?" And he said, "Hey, forget about him. Focus on what I have for yourself." And I think a lot of us tend to always say, "Why are they doing that? And how come they've got that? And what about me?" And when you even get when you get your stuff, you don't appreciate it because you think, well, it's not as much as this person. How come this person did this little thing and they've got all that? And that's really a hard thing that really holds the majority of us down, if we can't appreciate the little we have and celebrate that.
That is so true, and it's funny. And we're living in a day and age now where I tell you, God bless social media, but there's a lot. You got to
Yeah.
know to have that balance because, half the stuff you're looking at on Instagram and all these, you know, is not real.
Mm.
Who's going to show you the real truth? There should be a site. There should be a site. It just says, this is, I was gonna use an expletive, but yeah, this is what it's really like. But I think that my grandmother, she used to always say, and our grandmother in our early days would always travel with us on the road. She was an opera singer. She had the most class and dignity that I've ever seen in a woman.
Wow.
And she was a Capricorn too. We were best friends. My grandmother. But she used to say, Kathy, the racehorses always have blinders on them for a reason. When you ever see a racehorse, they have the blinders on them.
Mm.
And she would tell me this, keep your blinders on and stay your course. Because when you look to the left, if a horse looks to the left while he's running, that's why those blinders are there. They look to the right or to the left, they get distracted and they don't win. So she used to always say, put your blinders on and just go. And what it's really taught me in life, especially in the day and age that we live in with Instagram. I mean, I think there was a pastor that said in one of his sermons, he just post and move, like post and don't scroll.
Yeah.
Post if you have to. This is a business you're in, post and move. Like, because you can find yourself scrolling and looking and, oh my gosh, I wish I had those shoes.
Yeah.
They live in that house. Oh my gosh. And you can find yourself questioning, what am I doing right? What am I doing?
Yeah.
No, not everything is what it appears to be ever. And you just get so much more done when you just concentrate on where you're supposed to go.
Yeah. I just remembered because you keep talking about your signs and you just celebrated your birthday within the week. So happy belated birthday.
So much.
Yeah.
Well, I always tiptoe to birthdays, not the age thing, but we all, yeah. I always say, if you want to know my age, I'm somewhere in between Holly and Sade. But what I have learned is we have lost so many people, and maybe it's because we're all coming out of this pandemic, and through the pandemic we lost so many, and then right at the beginning of this year. But so in seeing that, I was sharing a conversation with a friend of mine, because I've never been big on birthdays. I mean, not even because of the public eye thing, but I just never have been. I have friends that celebrate their birthday for a month. Have their gifts. I'm like, yeah, it's a birthday, it's okay. But because we lost so many amazing people, every time you turned around, it seemed, this year I did post, I'm very grateful and blessed, to have another birthday. And I embrace that more and more instead of tiptoe through them or not make a big deal. They're a huge deal. We just lost Priscilla Presley. We just lost, Jeff Beck, who, my gosh, an amazing, it's like Jeff Beck is one of the most amazing guitarists ever. And when you see these things, maybe it's because of social media, we see it sooner than we hear it. And it's made me really have a different whole outlook on how we celebrate life.
Yeah. I mean, and I think on the big one was when Twitch passed away, and people saw videos of him a day before dancing, and as a male therapist, I know how it's easy for men to give this facade, but we struggle to talk and share and feel comfortable just going through what we're going through. And even if you ask him, he would say, yeah, I'm fine, everything's good, because you don't really because we don't get taught emotions as boys, growing up. Don't cry, come on, you're a man, toughen up. And so you keep that within. And especially within our Black communities, we're far worse. It's like we'll take it to God and pray, and we have to bear the cross and be strong because of society and stuff. So it is something that I've been working in my capacity to try, and this is my platform, to try and use this to educate our community, to say, hey, it's okay to not to be okay.
You see me leaning in on this because that has always been a huge and I know this is not that show. This is
No,
supposed to be.
this is
But
fine.
when you said you're a therapist, and what you just mentioned lays heavy on my heart when it comes to men, who are Black men, to men in general. I feel like they have been raised not to cry. And earlier I said my daughter asked me like, why don't I ever see you cry? And I said, because it doesn't get me anywhere. But it doesn't mean I don't cry.
Yeah.
But it's, to me, that is such that is a huge frustration. It must be, to think that you're not supposed to, or to hold that in. And as we said earlier, then obviously we become internalized with pain.
Yeah.
And how do you release that? I mean, I know this is not that show.
No, this is fine. This is what
It
everyone.
always perplexing to me when you hear this a lot with men, that they're not supposed to cry. How do you release? How
Yeah.
should?
Yeah, and it really starts. And what I try and do is to get parents to try and understand it, that if you have your young child, it starts with them just learning emotions. I feel sad, I feel worried or scared, and let them start to help them to learn to name it.
Yes.
But also it is a generational thing. So my parents are Nigerian. They moved to the UK in the 60s. There was a war in Nigeria. So they had to escape, leave their family behind. They had to come into a new country in Liverpool. It was cold and damp. There's racism and stuff when they had to adapt to that. So for them, they had to bear those scars. And so the threshold for mental health or for feeling, anxiety or stress was much higher because of what they have had to experience. And so subsequently, if you think, I went to college in the US and in Alabama, and of course I heard about this segregation. And so if I grew up in Alabama, it would have been the same thing. My parents would have experienced a lot of those discriminations. So they would think we have to be tough and work twice as hard to make it. So what would the natural person who's maybe white may see as a challenge and be able to be emotional about that, within our communities, like, nope, we can't show weakness. We need to be strong. And I think it doesn't help when we're still dealing with a lot of discrimination and racism, that we have to almost carry that badge. But it's those conversations that we need to be able to have, to say it can be tough. And if it is tough, we need to talk about it, and we shouldn't make it surface stuff. It shouldn't all be about football and sports and things like that. We should be able to talk about, how did that make you feel? If I face disappointment, I know, I can call my brother out in Portland and say, hey, this happened and I really, really upsets me, because if I don't tell you about it, it will fester inside, and so I need to get it out. And the more I share it, all of a sudden it loses, day by day, loses that grip on me, and I'm able to get free. So it is.
Itself is such sound advice, because if it's hard to cry, or if someone's scared to cry, or not talking about it helps. Like what you just said, call someone, because that really has. I mean, we hear it all the time that men aren't supposed to cry, big boys don't cry, and all of that. But wait, we have hearts and souls, and they have hearts and souls, like as everyone else.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for being part of the Halftime Chat community. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. But most importantly, why don't you consider being a member? That's a way of supporting the channel, but also getting a lot of videos ahead of time, a lot of behind the scenes stuff, and some exclusive content that doesn't get shared. But anyway, thanks for watching, and thanks for being part of Halftime Chat. Sweet.